You're listening to Enhance's bonus segment, Weird Wednesday. Weird Wednesday is our time to talk about the strange, the unsettling, and the spooky. Hello, Enhance listeners. Thank you so much for tuning back into another bonus episode of Weird Wednesday. And today it's not Sam and Gabby. Who is it? It's Sam and Sid. It's Sam and Sid.
Alliteration.
Oh, yes. SMS. It's like Sam and Cat, but not.
No, not like Sam and Cat. Sam and Sid.
Yeah. I had a I had a best friend in college named Kat. That was fun. We would always be like Sam and Cat. But she and I are still good friends, don't get me wrong. We just don't really talk a whole lot anymore. But we support each other and we see each other when we can, but it was just always fun to be like Sam and Cat. So
Beauties in college. I feel like I have such like cottagecore vibes from Sam at college just because you went to Spring Hill and I like wrote a piece about you and your college buddies starting a company together. So I'm like, whenever I think about Sam in college, I'm like, Sam in his college days.
that is, yeah, that's pretty accurate, I'd have to say. Yeah, there were these tunnels that went under my college that they got finally closed off. I think it was like the year after I graduated because the film club, yeah, I'm adding them on air. But
all the drama.
I used to be part of the film club in like my junior year. I quit, I think. Was it that? Yeah. But the film club the year after I graduated, they went down into the tunnels to film something, but none of them had ever been before, and a freshman girl fell off the ladder and broke both of her ankles. And so they had to like shut all of the tunnels off. And I was like, y'all had to ruin it for everybody. Like everyone knew you don't go into the tunnels without someone who's been there before. You don't go and also like it is a climb down into tunnels, and they're not like tunnels as in cave tunnels. They're like drainage tunnels that aren't really used a whole lot anymore. I mean, they do like natural runoff, but like because of the fact that Spring Hill was literally on a hill, it would like drain, water. And I mean, the girl was okay. Yeah. Disclaimer, the girl was okay. She only had some broken ankles, but she did heal. She did recover, but still. Yeah.
No, man. That's a no for me, dog.
Yeah. Anywho. But yeah, I guess to get, which I mean, a great start to this episode to get into what our bonus episode today is about. Today we are talking about lucid dreaming and nightmares.
Yes, we are. We are getting all into the nitty-gritty of what are lucid dreams? Where did they come from? When did we start talking about them? How can you lucid dream? And lucid dreaming applications.
Yes.
We've got all the fun tea. We've got some fun stories, and Sammy's got some eyewitness reports.
I have to talk so it'll look at me, but I'm looking into the camera.
I'm scared.
Yes, I do. I have a lot of lucid dreaming input that I can give, so I'm excited about this.
Yeah, but to get right into it, I'm going to kind of lead you guys through some lucid dreaming facts. We're going to get some commentary from Sam. But lucid dreaming, Sam's like, let me get ready for this one. But basically, lucid dreaming is when you're aware of the fact that you are dreaming. So while you're asleep, while you're dreaming, something clicks and you go, okay, I'm dreaming. But the main point is just that you're aware that you're dreaming. It's very much Inception, except not at all. And so lucid dreaming is very much tied into your sleep cycle, though. Basically, we dream only during a very short amount of time while we're sleeping, during your REM sleep. And so it's during that window of REM sleep that you can lucid dream. And so it's really cool when you're lucid dreaming because people have talked about like you can deal with nightmares. You can sometimes you can like direct your dream, almost like a director from an outside opinion. Like you can make it happier, or you could make it sexier, or you could make
Ooh,
it, I don't know why you'd want to make it scary,
spicy.
but you can like confront the things that are scaring you in a way where you can kind of take your power back. And that's not everybody's experience. It takes a little bit of practice and relax, but there are a lot of different ways that you can use lucid dreaming. Some other people that use it in their meditation practices. There's a really strong, like, long history with lucid dreaming in Buddhism. And so it's a really cool thing. And so you might be wondering, well, what is lucid dreaming? That's all cool and fun. Lucid dreaming is an important part of your sleep cycle. So, Sam, you know this. We have 4 stages of sleep.
Wait, lucid dreaming is an important part of our sleep cycle?
No, lucid
REM.
dreaming is not an important part of your sleep cycle.
REM is an important part.
Part of your sleep cycle.
Gotcha.
All of these stages are very important, like, for your body, but yes, REM is very important, as well as stage 3. Those are your deep sleep stages. Stage 1 is kind of just falling asleep. Stage 2 is kind of like where your heart rate starts to kind of slow down, your breathing steadies, your eyes stop moving as much, and then
in the sleep paralysis and dream interpretation episode, I actually walk through the stages of sleep too.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't do it in deep detail. I just did it for the fact that, like, it was important to know for sleep paralysis, like, and mainly just focused on REM and NREM. Is that what? Yeah.
So, like, there's like rapid eye movement sleep, and then non-rapid eye movement sleep is the other like 3 stages. But no, and that's a really cool thing is that so lucid dreaming and REM sleep happens when you would have sleep paralysis, which I'm sure that you like talked about. But so lucid dreaming is kind of like the other coin of having or experiencing sleep paralysis. It's that, like, yes, you can wake up and have like a frightening ordeal, but you can also like go back to sleep and have like a lucid dream where you're doing something really cool and fun. Because you're in that same like REM sleep cycle.
Because the reason why Sid was like, get some commentary from Sam, is because I used to only lucid dream, but mine wasn't intentional lucid dreaming. I don't know if we ever talked about that part or not, Sid. I know I've said several times, like, I used to only lucid dream, but like I never did it on purpose. I would just be like, I would gain awareness in the dream just by gaining awareness in the dream. Like, usually I would start off the dream like, there's a weird thing, maybe Sid will be able to shed some light on this, but this happens throughout like all of my dreams, and like I've talked to other people that this happens to them too. So I will start off a dream already knowing certain things. So like the beginning of the dream may start off in like a fight scene, like I'm like, fighting somebody, like an action scene. But like in the dream, like the moment I start off fighting, I know I'm fighting this person because of this. This is who it is. This is the backstory. This is what's led up to this point. And then I continue the dream almost like it's a storyline. And so in my lucid dreaming, I would start it off like gaining awareness at the beginning of a dream, knowing that the dream was set up a certain way. But instead of just like watching the dream or like participating in the dream, in the lucid dream, I would never control the dream unless it was a nightmare. Then I'll talk about that too. But I would never control the dream. I would just be an active part of the dream, acting within the logic of that world. And it's like I didn't have an option to do anything else. I would just gain awareness that I was dreaming and be like, okay, so now what would this character or this version of me that I'm being in this dream, what would they do next? And that's just sort of how I operated throughout the entire dream. I didn't have an option to just be like, oh, I'm dreaming, I'm gonna fly, like it was very like, yeah. And then whenever, like you said, facing fears and nightmares and things like that and turning them down, like turning them off, I used to do that where anytime I would have like a scary dream and I would gain awareness, how I would do it is that my heart would start to race like in my body, and I would start to hear the heartbeat in the dream. And so every time, like as the heart rate like got more and more noticeable to me, it would make the dream shake. Like the whole world would shake in the dream every time my heart beat. And I realized like, oh, I'm asleep. Like I'm not actually awake. This isn't actually happening. So I would like look at whatever it was that was chasing me or whatever it was I was afraid of. And I would just say like, this isn't real. And literally the dream would like shake until it like started cracking and then it would shatter and I'd wake up.
Mm. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Very cinematic.
Very cool. Well, of course, thematic, dramatic, all of
Yeah.
these. But wait, that's very interesting because a lot of people will lucid dream like within their lifetime just because, and and the sleeps like it's so lucid dreaming is let me take it a step back. So this your sleep cycle and the stages of sleep are so important to lucid dreaming, and that element of being in REM sleep is so like imperative that a lot of people will lucid dream like just throughout their lifetime every once in a while, because even if you're trying to lucid dream, it's suggested that like if you're not having like luck lucid dreaming, then try like waking up 30 minutes before you need to wake up and then going back to sleep. Because when you like wake up right out of like REM to your, let's say, stage 2 of the sleep cycle, which is like just relaxed and not really waking up yet. If you kind of wake up from that, it's like almost like fast tracking the sleep cycle. And then if you kind of go back to sleep within like 5 or 10 minutes, you can kind of ride that wave back into REM sleep quicker than you normally would be able to just going into a night of sleep. And that's partially because you've had a night of sleep like baseline before that. So you're not just going into a like long restorative period in your body, like with your breathing and your heart rate, since it's already just been like that for a period of hours. You have like a 5 to 10 minute window when you wake up if you want to try it again.
Interesting.
But so it really is like interwoven into how the brain works through like moving through the different stages of sleep. And it's really cool. I'm going to just really quickly go through the stages of sleep and then move on to like the history of lucid dreaming. But basically, you go through like a transitionary period of your normal breathing and heart rate and all the activity in your brain to like lying down. You're relaxing, you're letting everything slow down. That by itself is stage 1. It's just a transitionary period. Stage 2 is half of your total sleep time, like your entire life. Half of your sleep time will be spent in stage 2 of sleep, which is kind of like half a sleep. It's like if you are taking a nap and you get like 30 minutes and somebody comes in and maybe they talk to you and you wake up and they're like, oh, you were asleep. And you'll say, no, I wasn't. You were just in stage 2 of sleep. It's a light sleep. But it's interesting because this is when like your body temperature drops and your brain starts to produce these sleep spindles, which are bursts of like rapid rhythmic brainwave activity.
Ooh,
And
is this the part of sleep that you're in when you have like the falling feeling and you like jolt yourself back awake?
no, I wish. That's cool.
Oh,
This is also cool. It's not falling, but it's thought to be a part of the memory consolidation that happens when you're asleep. So just another really important part of dreams as a whole, which comes out of REM sleep, is the amount of memory consolidation and data processing that happens while we're asleep is just so massive. And it happens so much throughout, like each stage of sleep does different things for how we process the day before and how we process things that we have not processed before. which
Interesting.
I think is so interesting, like
Definitely.
spirituality wise,
Yeah.
because sleep is such like I know we talk a lot about like, oh, get good sleep, but like it really is such a huge part of like the processing that we do. And when we talk about like, well, I'm just processing a lot right now, it's like that happens when you're asleep. Maybe that's why I've been so tired, Sam. You know how I say that I've been tired and I've been sleeping? I think I'm just processing.
Yep, it's important. Go sleep, pal. Go sleep. I was gonna say earlier too, with the whole like times of sleep and stuff like that. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but sleep is a very important thing to me. Like I'm very like, and it's because I have such trouble sleeping and I'm such a light sleeper, and I also have such crazy, vivid, like I mean, literally like movie dreams, like what we just talked about. Like, and whenever I say I used to only lucid dream, I don't mean like there would be like several nights in a row where I would just lucid dream. I may have like then a random dream one night that's a super vivid dream that's not a lucid dream. So
Yeah.
like it really like it wasn't every single night, but it was almost every single night. But anywho, so I will calculate my sleep, and I know that there's people that's like, me looking at the clock to see how many hours of sleep I can get before I wake up. Like I don't even do that. I calculate how many REM cycles I could fit in to like to my sleep for that night, because like when you go into REM and out of REM and come back out and everything, that's like one full cycle.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
like when you go through all of the cycles, and so like I literally, if I'm going to take a nap, I will calculate which cycle of sleep I can get into. I will not let myself enter like if I cannot get a full like I will either take a very short nap so that I don't even get near REM, or I will allow myself to take a full nap where I can get through a REM cycle. And the estimate for that, if anybody's wondering, is like 90 minutes. I don't know if Sib's going to get into that or not, but like 90 minutes is one full REM cycle. So like, and I really don't want to like, so this isn't about lucid dreaming. So hopefully this won't like jump on like anything you're going to talk about. But that's why if you wake up like early in the morning for some reason, say that you get to sleep in, so you stay up super late the night before, and then you wake up really early and you didn't get a full 8 hours of sleep, but you wake up feeling really like refreshed and you're just like wide awake, it's because you went through a like even amount of REM cycles, and your internal clock, your circadian rhythms, like all that jazz was like, oh, this is around the time I usually wake up, so I guess I should nip it in the bud here, and then wakes you up and you feel refreshed and wide awake, where all throughout the week you may have been getting more sleep but waking up by your alarm clock and not feeling refreshed at all. And it's because you were able to actually complete like REM cycles. So I literally will time my sleep. Like if I have to wake up early or if I'm going to take a nap, I will time it to see how many REM cycles I can fit into that sleep cycle.
And where's the Virgo in your chart?
Virgo Mars.
There we go. Oh, we love that. We love that. Yeah, my Mars is in Libra. I look cute in my sleep in.
Oh wow. Okay.
Sorry. No, but you're exactly right. No, you're exactly right. I think that that's very cute that you time your naps, and I bet you feel very rested.
I
I'm being
do.
petty because I've been not very rested recently, and I know it's because I'm waking up in all wonky sleep cycle stages.
Let me ask you something. And it's probably going to be innocent because of what you just said, but I have to ask anyway. You know how like people will say your internal alarm clock and they're just talking about your like circadian rhythms and stuff like that? Can you set your internal alarm clock? Because I can.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Because like I've always been afraid to say that because I'm like, it's not like 100%. Like it's probably like 90%. Like I can go like if I don't have anything really important the next morning, but I want to wake up by a certain time, I can just like focus and be like, all right, setting the internal alarm clock. I want to wake up by this time. And then I'll like tell my subconscious to make sure I wake up at that time. And I almost always wake up between 1 minute before that time and 15 minutes after that time.
Okay, I will say I have a similar thing, but maybe it's I like don't want to admit that I have this thing because I'm a recovering chronically late person. And, and a lot of it is because I'm not a morning person.
I feel that so deeply. Oh my God.
And so a lot of it has been because I've slept in too late, and then I can't get to where I need to get to on time. But if there's something really important, and I'm the night before setting all my alarms, and it doesn't matter when I go to sleep the night before. Let's not talk about that part. But the part that I'm speaking on is I'll tell myself, hey, 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 this is what we're doing tomorrow. Tomorrow we're waking up by this time. We're really, really, really doing it. And then I will typically wake up within 50, and that was this morning too.
Oh wow.
I was like, I need to be up by now, which was crazy because I thought we were recording at 10.
I know. I literally I literally kept on telling myself too, I did a little bit of lucid dreaming this morning. And so I'll talk about this a little bit more during my part and everything, but my lucid dreaming era came to a very abrupt end because of a nightmare that I had. But now I have finally been able to start lucid dreaming again, but it's not the same. It's I don't have the same type of awareness in a dream. I will have moments of awareness in a dream. But most of the time, instead of it being a dream version of me acting out and doing things, instead it'll be a awake me kind of just steps into the dream for a second. It's all right, don't want to ruin the fun, but I do want to remind you that we have to do this. Okay, all right, go ahead, continue. All right, bye. And we'll yeet back out. And so
you have to do this when you're awake again.
Do it now.
You have to do this when you're awake again, or you're directing the scene of the dream.
No. I just sort of awake me. And so used to lucid dreaming, it would be I have awake me, then I have dream me, who is a different version of me. Because dream me will remember certain things from awake me, and will remember oh yeah, okay, awake me is going to have to deal with this and this, so I better do this in the dream. Also have a similar thing for whenever I'm drunk, because drunk me, well, I know that sounds really weird, but drunk me will sit there and think about sober me and be okay, sober me is going to have to blah 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 blah. And I don't know if that's unhealthy, because I have had issues with dissociation in the past. So but yeah, so I have started trying to reword that into, when I am sober, I will blah 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 blah. And so into the dreams, that's also carried over too. So I'll think, oh, when I'm awake, I'm gonna have to blah 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 blah, right? So now, instead of it being two completely different versions of me, one when I'm awake and one when I'm asleep, making different types of decisions and things like that, I will now just all of a sudden gain all awareness and be oh yeah, okay, I'm dreaming, let me kind of step in for a second and remind dream me that I have to do this thing in a little while, so I need to wake up by this time. Okay, cool, here's a little reminder, just don't want to forget. Or I'll think of something in the dream, and that'll trigger awake awareness me, and I'll be ooh, okay, hey, I just remember this, let's tomorrow whenever I wake up, I need to remember to do X, Y, and Z. And I'll kind of put that into the dream memory too. And that way, when I wake up shortly after, I'll be oh yeah, in the dream, I reminded myself that when I wake up, I have to do X, Y, and Z. But I'll lose awareness after that. So I'll remind myself, and then I'll go right back to the dream and not be lucid dreaming anymore. But then when I wake up, I remember that I reminded myself. And so that's what I did this morning too, is that I told you that my dog woke me up this morning because he broke a dish.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when I went back to sleep, it was really early, and I was oh, we don't have to record until noon. So I will, yeah, I'll, get plenty of sleep. And so I was I need to wake up by, whatever time. And so it got around that time, and I reminded myself all throughout my dream for those next few hours, I was hey, you have to wake up by this time. You have to wake up by this time. And so it got about 15 minutes after that time, or about 10. No, it wasn't. It was it was about 10 minutes before. And I literally awake me was hey, by the way, it's getting close to that time if you want to get up and check your phone. And so then I entered back I exited, and then I finished the dream, and then woke up, and literally as I woke up out of the dream, woke up, reached over, grabbed my phone, looked at it, and saw where you had called me a couple of times, and I was oh god, is she okay? And then I saw your messages, and I was oh, okay, you just thought we were recording at a different
I was whoopsie. Sally was early.
Yeah. But now you see why my psychiatrist thinks I have a sleep disorder. So
oh my gosh, no. It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because I'm about to get to just how important self-awareness is to lucid dreaming. So just
Mm.
final thoughts on processing from this different sleep stages. So we do have a lot of memory consolidation that happens during stage 2. Stage 3 is like the delta sleep, and so which is just characterized by like delta waves being emitted from your brain, which are really slow, lethargic, like very restorative waves. And during stage 3, your muscles completely relax, your blood pressure drops, your breathing slows, but like your your brain works to consolidate all of the new and learned information from the day, and then your body goes to work restoring muscles and organs. And then during REM sleep, it's really cool because your body does not stop like working to restore itself from the day before, and it actually um, your body releases hormones to help with like the growth of bones and muscles, and then like the immune system is strengthened during your sleep.
Oh wow.
But during your REM sleep, your body is immobilized, it is paralyzed.
Is non-rapid eye movement or rapid eye movement the restorative state of sleep, like where your body repairs itself, like cuts and bruises and things like that?
So it would be actually technically both,
Oh,
because
okay.
not NREM, NREM. NREM sleep is just
Narem.
NREM.
I want to make an enhanced T-shirt now that says Narem sleep. It's important or something like that. Like, get your Narem sleep.
Got NREM. Um,
It sounds like a medication too, like a sleeping medication. Like Narem might be right for you if blah 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 blah. Please consult your doctor if blah blah blah.
they just need to
Narem.
but
Hire Sid and I to write your commercial jingles.
Sid and Samm Incorporated. But so non-REM sleep is just the first 3 stages of sleep, and REM sleep is the 4th stage. But
Mm,
so all of the bodily restorative functions that are going on during your sleep, they're going to be happening during stage 3 and stage 4.
okay.
Neurologically, you're going to be doing a lot of processing during stage 2, but in your
Mm,
body, like when your body starts like releasing the hormones and it's going, okay, body scan, I see there's a bruise here, those blood vessels need some work,
yeah.
cells go to work.
You know, I will say stage 2, I think, is where I really like, I will still have awareness a lot throughout stage 2. And because then instead of dreaming, like I have an internal monologue, and there are people, like, I guess this would be a cool Weird Wednesday episode to do too about like the different types of like mental processing. But there are people that have like no, like they're verbal, like they have a internal monologue, but they don't have any imagery. There are people that have imagery but no internal monologue. There are people that have nothing whenever they think about things. And then there are people that have both. And I'm one of the people that have both. And so apparently that specific thing is also common in people with dyslexia. Fun fact. Because
Dyslexia, but I just went like,
but so you do or don't have dyslexia?
I do not. I have
Yeah.
verbal dyslexia.
Okay. I don't know if I do, because whenever I was younger, I was in like the 2nd grade. A teacher went to my mom and was like, "Yo, your kid's like, he's getting confused between the letters. Like, you need to go get him tested." And I don't know why my mom didn't. We still like, I think sometimes like I've asked her before, and she'll be like, "Well, the teachers were gonna work with you more," and I was like, "Okay." And so, but my teacher did in the 2nd grade. She sat down with me and really helped me learn a lot of coping skills for like seeing certain things. And one of those was to kind of run your letters together, which also came in handy whenever I started learning cursive. But whenever I got into my freshman year in high school, again, my teacher was like, "Your kid's got dyslexia and your kid's got ADHD. Take him to go get tested." My mom didn't, but so I've just learned ways to like work past it. If I do have it, it wouldn't be like extreme because I'm literally 26 years old and still able to like, you know what I'm saying? Like I've never had any special like treatments or anything like that, like for like, you know what I'm saying, to accommodate or anything like that. And so but yeah,
Self, and that's so powerful, babe.
wait, what now?
You accommodated yourself, and that's where the real strength comes from.
Thank you so much. But yeah, so I still get kind of mixed up, like words that start with th. I don't know why. I guess it's because I run my letters together. But words that start with th, I like misread them and miswrite them all the freaking time. Like, and I don't mean like words like thesaurus. I mean like these, this, that, the like things that are like ones that are very short and common words. And then
What
like
about your
peas.
WHs, like with or
Huh?
like with? What about your WHs, like with or like which?
Those are fine. I don't really the main thing I struggle with
Just
to
me.
this day are P's, keys, and G's. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I literally get those mixed up all the freaking time. Even whenever I'm trying to write in cursive.
I mean, I can see it. They've all got a little circle.
Yeah, a little circle with a dangly, you know? Like it's but anyways, a study showed that people that have dyslexia also have that like last type where it's like you have mental where you have imagery and verbal or like internal monologue. And it's because they're able to see a three-dimensional version of whatever it is they're thinking of in their head, which isn't typical like in like thought processing. And so, or like in imagining things or imagery, like you usually just see it from like an outside perspective, but they're able to kind of flip it around in their head, which I can. But that's why they have dyslexia, because whenever they're learning things, especially at a young age, they're not just seeing it how you're writing it on a piece of paper, they're flipping it all around and projecting it in different ways, even if they're doing it subconsciously. And so, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And I think that would be a fun episode to do. But I don't even know why I got onto that tangent, but yeah, it was in response to something that you said about, oh yeah. And so in my second stage of sleep, that's where I typically lose awareness because up to that point, I've only had my internal monologue going. I haven't had any like imagery stuff, any imagery stuff going on. And so, when I start entering into the second state of sleep, because it's just like internal monologue and I'm just thinking, I like enter this almost like trance and like meditative like state. And that's where I like still have my awareness, but it's more of like subconscious awareness. And I start to lose it. But that's typically whenever I will feel like I'm falling and all of a sudden just like wake up, or it'll just be very random too. I won't even feel like I'm falling. I'll just be like, wow.
You know, that's interesting. I don't have any like research about the like falling sensation.
Really?
Which like, that has happened to me. It hasn't happened very often, but it's interesting that you mentioned that kind of like meditative subconscious because the history of lucid dreaming.
Ah.
um, so there are ties to lucid dreaming in Buddhism, in Eastern Asia, in like around the time of like 4th century BCE, when like kind of Aristotle and his crew they were doing their big philosophy thing in Greece. Shout out to the boys.
To the boys.
And then but you know, in Eastern Asia there was Buddhism was going on and a lot of other different things. I'm not a historian, but
Wait, really? I'm just kidding.
not everything's all, but
But you're so smart.
but so there's a practice based on um, based on Padmasambhava Tibetan Buddhism called Dream Yoga, and it's basically Buddha had a story. So the Buddha told a story in the Samadhidra. Oh gosh, the Samadhiraja.
Oh, I think I actually. Oh, never mind. I thought I mentioned that before in one of my bonus episodes, but then I just realized no, I just learned about it in college. Like,
Cute. Samadhiraja Sutra,
yeah.
in which the Buddha told a story where There was once a young woman who dreamed she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. She was so happy. She loved nourishing and caring for her baby. This was the happiest time in her life. But when he was a couple of years old, he became sick and died. Then she became heartbroken. This was the most tragic time in her life. The whole kind of theory behind dream yoga is to look at the temporary state of things. Look at things in a sense of abeyance. Like take yourself out of these things and separate. Like practice detachment. And the whole like premise is to kind of extend your Dharma practice, which
Mm-hmm.
practicing Dharma, for anyone who does not know, is just taking Buddhist teachings in your everyday life, like incorporating the Buddhist teachings into your life how you would. And it's extending that Dharma practice time into sleep. So it's really meditating until you like fall asleep.
Ooh, I do that. Sorry, just because I've had such trouble sleeping in the past, a lot of times I will meditate into sleep. That way, like I'll actually fall asleep because sometimes I just won't. Like I won't fall asleep by myself. I have to be very intentional with it and like sit
Yeah.
there and meditate and be like, all right, this is my meditation sleep. And I
Yeah.
do after you're because I don't want to like take away from any of the lucid dreaming part of it. I might go through some of the like different types of meditations I do to help me go to sleep, just because that might be interesting and helpful. But go ahead. Sorry.
You do. I love meditating into sleep because I also struggle with insomnia, but I'll also struggle with like just really not being able to fall asleep and just not getting any rest, which I
Yeah.
know is the definition of insomnia.
Yeah.
But I feel like that you can get to stage 2 of sleep from a meditative state, like for sure. I have done that so many times for like some power naps,
Yeah.
just in the bag.
Well,
But like,
yeah,
if
that's what I was saying whenever I was like, I'm so sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying that like if I can't sleep, I'll just meditate. Like even if I just meditate all night and like do not get a single fucking, which it's so annoying, and so
Yeah.
it's a great practice. But like at least I know my body is getting a little bit of
Yes.
rest. It's extra because I'm like meditating and having that awareness and
I
like
have said I've said that same exact thing where it's like if I will just meditate for a while, just close my eyes and meditate, I'll enter into that little second stage of sleep and I'll just stay there all night. I never really lose my awareness. I know that I'm there, but like but I'll just basically enter in and out of that whole like thought of like that stream of thought that I was talking about, like where I'll go deep into it and just have the internal monologue going and it'll just be about random things and like I'll just be thinking about things. But I do so much, like you said, mental processing whenever I do that. And when I wake up, I obviously don't feel as well rested as if I like got a full night of sleep, but I
just
still
going through the
feel,
cycle of rest.
yeah,
That's how you feel rested.
yeah, exactly. And so that's whenever I wake up after that, I still feel like I'm like, okay, I got some rest. I can power through this, like I feel okay. But what I was gonna or that's like kind of what I was trying to say earlier, but like I didn't have the words to use because you were still teaching. So now I'm like, oh, now I have the words to use or like the understanding of it. But I will basically like use meditation as my first stage of sleep. Like I won't just naturally doze off and like fall asleep and like lose awareness and relax. I will have to like physically make myself do it with meditation, but it still works. And that's why I'll finally like at the end of the second stage of sleep lose my like awareness, if that makes sense. Because like I've forced myself and kept myself aware the entire time through stage 1, kept it going throughout stage 2, and then stage at the end of stage 2, I'm finally like, okay, now I'm like losing the awareness and relaxing. But it's really cool that like I don't know that people can do that. Like that I thought that I was just weird, but like no, like that's a whole practice. So like I'm being Zen and Buddhist without meaning to.
No, I love Buddhism. You know,
Me too.
I love my Eastern religions. I do, but but I will say it's very interesting the meditational applications of sleep and the different sleep cycles that you go through. which is, I think, why have kind of spent so much time talking about the sleep cycles, is because once you understand how you have to kind of go through REM cycle to lucid dream, and you understand like the basic principles of self-awareness, it's like the kind of like the possibilities are endless. And it's kind of talking about what is your brain going through as you're going through these different like time spans of awareness while you're, for the purpose of sleep, for the purpose of lucid dreaming, for the purpose of all these different processes that are happening automatically. This has a very long history with Buddhism, and an interesting thing about dream yoga specifically from Padmasambhava. I sorry, Padmasambhava, Tibetan Buddhism, dream yoga. It's taking advantage of all of these different things that are going on with your sleep. The fact that during REM sleep, your body is paralyzed and your senses are kind of all like drawn into your conscious, because your body is busy restoring, it's relaxed, it's calm, but your brain is your brain. And another thing of just REM sleep is that your brain much more resembles that of an awake person than during the rest of your sleep cycles, which a lot of people do. But just like your body is doing this very restorative thing, and then your brain is very active. Your brain is so active, and it's going through all of these different processes. So in Buddhism, that's kind of what the Buddha refers to as your sixth consciousness. Yes, let me just make sure. Yes, the sixth consciousness. I wanted to make sure it wasn't like the sixth something else. But like your sixth consciousness, which is like that meditational space of letting your awareness very much come down into right here. And the kind of ultimate goal of dream yoga is to get to a point of awareness where your like lucid dreaming is you meditating. It's just like clear light. But then we go to the Western Hemisphere, and this is still 4th century BCE, and we've got On Dreams, Parva Naturale by Aristotle, in which Aristotle is talking about dreams. And he said, often when one is asleep, there is something in consciousness which declares that what then presents itself is but a dream. There is something in consciousness which declares that what then presents itself is but a dream. So Aristotle is kind of talking about these different processes that are happening, all like these different things that are happening in your real life that are kind of presenting themselves as dreams. And in this kind of philosophical context, he's giving us, the application of dreams. It's dreams are presenting, an avenue for processing. So Aristotle is kind of more concerned on what's going on, whereas Buddhism is like, yo, Dishi, we got options. We got options, man. You think you can only meditate in the daytime? Wrong. They were like, you can meditate all the time. But it's pretty cool. But we really didn't have any science on lucid dreaming for a long time. It was one of those things that people were like, is this a thing? And, from Aristotle, from Eastern Asia, in the 4th century, we have different written descriptions of lucid dreaming. We have that through time, kind of stemming from Buddhist culture and Greek philosophy, like trickle down from there. We have different lucid dreaming is happening. And, we've lucid dreamed in our lifetime, so it's not a new thing. But it wasn't until 1913 where there was Dutch psychiatrist Frederick van Eden, and he wrote a full account of his ordeal with lucid dreaming. And he really just scratches the surface, but this was the first like official scientist who was like describing lucid dreaming. The whole skepticism came from people were like, okay, is this real? People really didn't believe it was a thing until it like happened to them, and they could say, okay, we see what's going on. This is a real thing. But this all led to the designing of all of this different technology to map the brain while people are lucid dreaming, to kind of see what is happening during REM sleep. What is so special about REM sleep that we can now take this awareness and do different things that aren't really characterized in our awake life. And so this, like, all people are talking about this, nobody really cares, there's skepticism, and this all keeps going on until the late 1970s. And that's when lucid dreaming was first distinguished from REM sleep using eye mapping tech. So we've got some crazy machines. We've got some crazy machines from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We've got the electrooculogram, or EOG, which measures like your eye movements when you're sleeping. And what they found in the 70s is that like your eyes have a very specific set of patterns, like patterned movements when you're sleeping, especially during REM sleep. They can track your eye movements and say, okay, this is REM sleep versus non-REM sleep.
Oh.
And going further than that, they can distinguish the different eye movements between someone who is in REM sleep and then somebody who is lucid dreaming. And this was just the beginning. Like it's like a pattern of sporadic, like patterned movements are like very distinguished from REM sleep. So they were like, okay, something different is going on. So our eyes are moving differently. That's one thing. And then they also designed the electromyogram, the EMG, and the I practiced this. God, gosh darn it. The electroencephalogram, or EEG.
Yeah.
Which that one is it measures your muscles' response to nerve stimuli. So it which a lot of people have had EEG tests before to kind of like test if their muscle response is working right. But they basically were just able to find that you're using your prefrontal and parietal regions of the brain when you're lucid dreaming. So that as well is very cool, because we've got the prefrontal, which is all of our id and our all of our characterization, processing, reasoning, all of the things that kind of make us.
Communication.
And then we've got like the parietal region, which is like very interesting. That's the one that's like separated right here. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I know you got your temporal, then you have two right here, then you have your occipital, then you have your frontal, then you have something up here too, the hippocampus.
Okay. No, no, I was absolutely wrong. So your parietal lobe, which, oh gosh, that is the one that I think is responsible for all of the the sensations that your body feels, like your spatial awareness.
Yeah, the occipital is eyes and like seeing things. The frontal is like personality and communication and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's your sensory perception and integration, including the management of taste, hearing, sight, touch, and smell.
Which one's the hippocampus? Is the hippocampus even one of the like lobes?
It's not a lobe, but it's in the it's I think it actually might be in the occipital lobe, which I feel like.
Oh yeah, it's down below that's why it was always counted as separate. It's down below the occipital lobe. It's like a different part of the brain.
Yeah, it's like what releases stress and anxiety and fear, and like learned.
Yeah, I just remember whenever I was in college taking AMP 1 and 2, and we like learned about the different lobes and stuff like that. We learned about the hippocampus separately from the other lobes. And I was like, why did I learn about that separately if it's not a lobe? And then now I remember I looked at the picture and was like, oh yeah.
I went through a rabbit hole last night, which was looking up what the different brain lobes do.
Nice.
But yeah, the parietal lobe, it's like it puts you in your environment. And your prefrontal, obviously we know what that does. But so they found that there were these really cool parts of your brain are being used when you're lucid dreaming. And then I just want to shout out some scientist homies that were doing work in the lucid dreaming field in case anybody wants to go and do more research. We've got William Dement and Edward A. Wolpert, circa 1958. Keith Hearn, circa 1978. Stephen LaBerge, circa 1981. And they all contributed to the standardization of certain volatile eye movements being characteristics of lucid dreaming and distinctly different from typical REM eye movement patterns.
Nice.
Yes. And so they could do different experiments for people doing different tasks in lucid dreaming because someone could use their eyes to communicate. And that was like a very cool, like kind of little piece of them kind of trying to figure out what's going on with lucid dreaming. So I guess really since then, the major like breakthroughs in lucid dreaming have been more on the spiritual side of things. So I'm going to kind of end there with the history of lucid dreaming because we can make our own history for lucid dreaming now.
Nice.
You can literally do anything in lucid dreaming. I have not had a lot of experience doing like whatever the heck I want in lucid dreams. I kind of have similar experiences to Sam, where like I feel like an active character in like it's almost like a video game.
Yeah.
Except I'm like living, like I'm the person though.
Yeah.
And I can kind of choose what I'm doing. But it's like, I have the limitations of my body. I have the limitations of these, like, and maybe I might have like a weapon or like I don't know, like I might have tools.
In a lot of my lucid dreams, I had a very common it's a little cringy, a very common theme, which was like enemies to lovers or lovers to enemies. Yeah.
Always some type of drama cringe in mine too.
Good. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you for being honest about that. It's always like there's some type of big bad villain and we had like a romantic past, or like they were my spouse and they turned bad, or they were a villain and then they became my spouse and turned good but started to turn bad again, or are being like framed for something because they used to be bad and people are finding out who they were and I have to try and like help them. Yeah, it's
How do you know about my secret lucid dream?
Were you there? Okay, like
How do you know about my soap opera fantasy?
oh my goodness. Yeah, very YA dystopian,
It's like cottagecore YA dystopian. Like I swear to God, I've had Dark Academia like series.
Oh wow. See, no, mine's usually some type of dystopian, like yeah. Or they used to be.
I'm not gonna call myself out anymore.
But I will say that there's a podcast that I listen to called "And That's Why We Drink," and I've talked about it a few times on here. And they're very different than our podcast, so that's why I'm like comfortable being like, yeah, you should go listen to them. Like they're very, very different. But they do true crime and paranormal stories every episode, and it's like my favorite podcast. The two people that like run it are just freaking hilarious. And so but it's like really they tell like scary stories or weird stories and stuff like that, or unsettling things, but they're like hilarious, so it's really weird because you laugh the whole time. But anyways, but Christine is one of the hosts, and she does the true crime aspect of the podcast. And so she has talked about lucid dreaming a lot just in her personal life, because they do like a good little chit chat at the beginning of each episode. And one of the ways that she started learning to lucid dream is that she was reading this book. I forget what it was called, or else I would give it a shout out, or she was like doing some type of practice where it was written by somebody, but basically they said, find yourself a habit that you can get into in waking life that's easy to cross over into sleeping life, because it will help you trigger awareness. And hers was like checking her watch to see like what time it was, because in waking life, I forget why, but like she got in the habit of checking her watch, and so it crossed over into dreams. And like sometimes in the dream, like your watch won't actually have the time on it, and it's supposed to help trigger awareness, or it'll have a really weird time on it and you're like, wait, what? And it'll trigger awareness. Or sometimes you'll go to check your watch and there won't be one because you didn't have a need for a watch in that dream. So like then it triggers awareness and you create a watch or something like that, and then it like helps you begin to like be aware. But hers, like when she would gain awareness, she's literally like learned how to change the dream, and like she can go like to different places and talk to dream versions of people and stuff like that. So it's really cool, because I know a lot of times they tell you not to talk with the other people in the dream if you start lucid dreaming, because like there's always like really weird reactions. Like someone one time said like I've read several stories where somebody will casually in a dream be like, oh well, this is just a dream, and people like all the people turn and look at the person in the dream. Like all the other like dream people will turn and like look at the person very angrily in the dream all at once, even if they weren't talking very loud. Or they'll like there was one person that asked the other like the dream people, like, what do you do whenever I wake up? Like, where do you go? And they got like visibly angry and was like, why would you even ask me that? And like just like got very upset, and like, yeah, very weird.
That reminds me of, did you ever see that episode of Adventure Time?
No. What happened?
Where Jake the dog like builds a community inside himself of like
No. Did you see
and,
that
like,
episode of Rick and Morty where they did Inception? Like,
no. Oh well, I guess I've seen every episode of Rick and Morty. I know it's so cringe.
yeah,
But
they did a Freddy Krueger like spoof.
yep.
Yeah, and it was like what wait, what now?
His big thing was he said the word bitch a lot.
Yeah, he said the word bitch a lot, and he had like ball sacks on his chin.
Oh yeah, bringing back them truck nuts.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a fun episode. Very fun episode. Very weird episode. Very fun. Well, I mean, it's Rick and Morty. Every episode's weird. But yeah, lucid dreaming. Huh?
So we recommend you go check out those two.
Yeah, we recommend going. I mean, they're very philosophical, very intellectual, very mentally stimulating. Go watch Rick and Morty, Adventure Time, and listen to And That's Why We Drink. Actually,
Yay.
for real, if you like true crime and paranormal, go listen to And That's Why We Drink. But
okay, but so let's talk about how to lucid dream, and then you have fun nightmare story.
yeah, I was wondering if you were going to say how to, and I was like, oh, okay, we're ending it there. So that's
Oh, no, because you bring us right into it. But so everything with lucid dreams, from just my personal opinion, awareness is key. Awareness is like the biggest thing that you're going to want to build, like a repertoire with yourself and with your body's sleep habits. So that is being intentional before going to bed, saying, I'm going to like have a good night's sleep, whatever you would like to do that night. If you want to dream, if you don't want to dream, if you want to try to lucid dream, if you want to wake up at a certain time the next day, but
internal alarm clock.
And set it. You set it. But like when you wake up in the morning, start a habit of writing in your journal. Keep a dream journal. If you don't dream, just as soon as you wake up, it's really, really amazing to get in the habit of practicing putting thoughts onto paper when you wake up, because you're coming from a space of not being on your phone, not being in society for a little bit. It's a real nice little break, just a tiny minute. And just from that headspace, that is a golden little window into your inner psyche. And getting in touch with that little window where you're most likely to lucid dream is helpful to trying to lucid dream if you would like to try. But having a dream journal is really important. I don't want to say really important, because it, do what you can always. I think we like to kind of keep that motto always. Do what you can. And if you can give 5%, and that's like the best that you can give, dude, you're doing so
I've been told so many times in my life to keep a dream journal, and I always regret not keeping a dream journal, but I just don't do it. I wish I did. I wish I did. It would be such a good practice, and I definitely think people should do it. If you're motivated and can do it every day, freaking do it. But I can't. It's bad. Maybe I should. Maybe that should be a goal.
It's here's the thing. It's my goal. And I feel like I'm sitting here being all preachy and knowing damn well I have not written in my dream journal in over a year.
Oh my God.
I have not recorded. Well, maybe that's not true. That is not true. I have recorded some dreams over the past year. I haven't recorded anything. I haven't recorded a dream in maybe a couple of months.
I record dreams sometimes, but it's only because something really weird or strange or something I really want to remember happens. I had a dream here recently that I'm not gonna, just for time's sake, I'm not gonna get into it, but long story short, there were aliens that were trying to kill the human race, and Morgan, our lovely friend that was in episode 2 of season 1, challenged them to a dance off, but those specific aliens evolved to not have asses, and because she's got a big juicy ass, she won the dance off and saved the human race.
Period. Oh, go off, sis. Say it with your chest. Oh my goodness. I feel like I've totally stolen that little Gabbyism. Oh my gosh. Say
what
it
Gabbyism?
That's
my thing. I'm the one who that started saying that on here. Apparently, she said we talked about it, trying to route back to where it was, because I said it first on the show, and then she started saying it. I was like, yes, we're all just gonna say it with our freaking chests. And so we got to talking about where it started one day, and she was like, oh yeah, she was like, I used to say that back in college or sometime, and she's like, I stopped for some reason, then you reminded me of it, and I was like, I've said it for so long, I don't know where it came from. I think I might have. I don't know. Maybe that's just an enhanced podcast thing.
But keeping a dream journal is really great if you want. See, I'm kind of where you're at right now. I also had but keeping a dream journal is really great if you want. See, I'm kind of where you're at right now. I also had a really horrible lucid dream experience. And it's not on my goal list to be a crazy, awesome, active lucid dreamer. But I do to think of myself as a dream traveler. I feel like I like to think of dream time as kind of travel time.
Yeah.
But keeping a dream journal is awesome if you want to lucid dream, because the practice of remembering your dreams and getting familiar just of having memories of your dreams puts you in the environment that you're in when you're dreaming. And having a memory of the environment that you're in when you're dreaming to use that what's it called, to use that metacognition.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, they say that metacognition and metacognition practices and lucid dreaming share very similar neural pathways. So just that act of receiving new information and processing it into long-term memory, analyzing yourself while you're doing things, and then using that information to practically assess and redirect when you're doing things to kind of for efficiency and efficacy. That common sense. But so using like that common sense kind of memory to draw from when you're dreaming, it's easier to recognize that you're in a dream. And then from that point, the big thing is staying calm. I think that a big thing that we do when we realize that we're dreaming is we freak out.
And we
But
wake up.
I know you freak out and then you wake up. So it's a little bit trial and error. It's establishing some habits that help you to think about your dreams, to put more awareness on your dreams, to like reality testing is a big thing that people do. You can like tap on your fingers, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers touching on the wall. The wall is solid. In your dreams, shit's not as solid as it looks. It may look solid, but the foundation is non-existent. So just give it a little tap. But if you do that when you're awake, it'll feel really silly. It won't ever stop feeling silly. But after a while, it will become a habit. And then you'll just start doing little things when you're awake. And people might look at you like, what are you doing? And you'll say, I'm reality testing. And I'll say, that sounds like something a crazy person would do. And you'll say, well, joke's on you because I have cool lucid dreams, even though I look like a crab. No, but you really do get into a habit of just kind of like doing little things, and people really don't notice. And when they do, it's silly and fun, and that's okay. And then when you're dreaming, it becomes a lot easier for you to say, hey, remember, I was interested in lucid dreaming. I can try it now if I would like. But it really just is getting kind of in the habit and then trying, like just keep trying, like really stay consistent with it. It may be like 2-3 months before anything really happens, but something will happen. And once it does, it's staying calm, it's letting yourself breathe, it's remembering that even though your body is like paralyzed, it's also resting. Like your body is doing all of these different processes to restore itself and get itself ready for the next day. So your body does not need to do anything. Just because you're paralyzed does not mean that you can't go anywhere. No, you're dreaming. You can do whatever you want. But it is very jarring. And so getting kind of used to that is a trial and error process. So from that baseline, talk about your experiences with lucid dreaming, Sam. How have you found it?
I just had like a memory from a dream I had last night come back where there were zombies and shit in the dream. But yeah, I also told Gabby yesterday because we had like a little like tutorial meeting day where I like showed her how to like do some editing stuff and like stuff like that. And so but yesterday I told her while we were waiting for videos to export and everything, I was like, so I had a really weird dream last night about like pirates. And I was a pirate and I had to like steal my ship back from the government. But last night I had a weird dream about zombies and I was like, huh?
2 separate dreams.
Yeah, no, like last night. So like the other dream that I had was the night before last.
And
But,
then
huh?
White House pirate down and then zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, no, for real. But like in the dream, I was like a weird like half zombie. Like I was still able to keep my like I was like part zombie where I could like eat brains and eat people and stuff like that, but I didn't decay or anything like that, and I still like my brain was still aware, like I was still human mostly and things like that. Like,
love?
huh?
Did you find love?
No. There was a police officer that I thought was hot, and then also a zombie that I thought was hot. A love triangle. I mean, but yeah. So, but yeah, it was really, but there was someone who opened a portal to somewhere. Yeah, because that happens in dreams. And someone had to go through to look for somebody real quick. And I remember in the dream just being terrified that the portal was going to close with them halfway in and split them in half.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, it didn't, but like I remember being terrified of that. So imagine like you start to gain awareness in a dream and you're afraid that's going to happen, then it just happens and you're like, oh gosh, I'm dreaming and now everything's falling apart. I don't know. Anyways, anxiety.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, but that is kind of really weird when you're in a dream and it like breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like, get out of here.
Yeah, which I guess leads me into my part of the episode, nightmares. Because I knew we would talk a lot about like lucid dreaming. I did not do a lot of research about nightmares at all. I'm just gonna give some fun facts that I literally found on a website. Did not even write down the notes. I have the website pulled up. I'm gonna be reading directly from the website, but it's called goodhousekeeping.com. And it's an article that they did called 9 Surprising Facts About Nightmares. So it's not literally, I'm just going to zoom through them. Then I'm going to tell you guys the nightmare that like altered my lucid dreaming experience moving forward. So the first fun fact that they have is that fear isn't the only reason you have to have nightmares. That's, of course, it's like it could be, they have confusion, guilt, disgust, sadness, and things of that nature are more common or more reasons to have a nightmare rather than being actually afraid of something. So your subconscious can actually have you have a nightmare that's fear-based based off another discomforting feeling that you may have in your waking life. You can also, which I think this list touches on it if I'm not mistaken, but there are also other things like physical ailments and mental ailments that can cause nightmares too. So like having a fever dream and things like that.
Wait, can I just hop in real quick?
Yeah.
Fear is a really cool emotion.
What is
fear?
Yeah.
Just because, and this was kind of how my therapist explained it to me, is that, which not to be anybody's therapist ever, I'm not licensed, but my therapist talked about fear as like an umbrella emotion, and like when we're feeling like anxious or stressed or mad or any type of like negative emotion, really, it kind of stems from this fear umbrella, like fear of loss, like fear of judgment, fear of misunderstanding, fear of, so like,
Yep.
even if something is not based in fear, like the main thing, it's still probably pulling from that fear umbrella some way or shape, form, if it's negative, like a bundle of negative energy.
Yeah. And a way that one of my therapists explained it to me too, to branch off of that, is that your umbrella emotions are typically secondary emotions. So they're like they're emotions that happen as a result of something, but they do feed into each other. So anxiety can be rooted in a fear of loss or something else, but then fear would be the second emotion to it. It would be the response emotion to it. That there's like a way to break it down. Same thing with anger. Anger is a secondary emotion. When you're feeling angry, it's actually because you're feeling something else that happened first. So you may be feeling embarrassed, you may be feeling hurt. Same thing with fear. And I don't know what else I was going to say, so apparently it was not important.
Fun things about if you're having nightmares and you don't think you're afraid of anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about fear and anger, but like in therapy, but brain went. So I'm just gonna go back to the list.
You're just scared of something.
Mhm. But
so
this was one. Wait, what now?
I did a call out and I said, but me too, calling out myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's okay. So this was a cool one that I actually didn't know, and that this is I don't know, I thought it was very interesting that nightmares can actually make you feel better. That scientists have found a surprising upside to having nightmares. Bad dreams are often a reflection of stress and worries that you feel when awake, and when you dream, the brain takes these abstract fears and plays them out in a narrative. And this is good news because it helps you process, like what you were talking about, like the processing part of sleep. So nightmares can actually make you or like help you process negative feelings that you feel during the day while you're awake.
Yeah, get what is all out of there.
Yeah. You actually touched on this one. So the third thing that they have is your brain is actually wide awake during nightmares, like it is during all dreams, or like it looks very similarly. But
scary, your brain is wide awake during nightmares.
Yeah. So they say that during a nightmare, you're actually in your third state of sleep of your sleep cycle called REM, and it is the strongest. And REM, which occurs every 90 minutes. This is what I was talking about earlier. So every 90 minutes while you sleep is a period of brain activity, rapid eye movement, and inhibited motor activity. And you can also blame your amygdala during REM. This is the part of your brain. This part of your brain is highly active. Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what is the amygdala? I looked this up.
I can tell us. They have a link to it. I just didn't want to, because for time's sake, didn't want to jump into it too much. But if you insist, the amygdala, also corpus amygdaloidium. Okay. Wow, I pronounced that very quickly. Is one of two almond-shaped clusters of nuclei, located deep and medially within the temporal lobes of the brain's cerebrum in complex vertebrates, including humans.
Give us the facts, love. The basics.
The
What is it?
basics. I don't have those for you. So, oh wait, shown to perform a primary role in processing the processing of memory, decision making, and emotional responses, including fear, anxiety, and aggression.
That's what I think I said that was a hippocampus earlier. I meant the big.
Well, you know what? We gave the correct facts, so that's okay, and that's from Wikipedia. So just to get my sources. Yeah, but anyways, number 4 that they have on the list is there are physical benefits. So during REM sleep, blood flow decreases to the brain and redirects towards the muscles and other systems, allowing them to restore and recover your growth and stress hormones, immune system, heart, blood pressure, and all are all positively affected, which you talked about. So while it seems like the worst thing ever, staying asleep during a doozy of a bad dream could help your overall well-being. So basically, like, yeah.
Get through that sleep cycle. Remember, it's not forever. It's just sleep.
So number 5, they have yes, late night snacks can cause them. We'll just leave it at that. Number 6, it could also be chemical. So medications are also known to contribute to nightmare frequency, but from antidepressants to narcotics. Blood pressure medications have also been linked to bad dreams too. I'm on blood pressure medication, and I have never, I did not notice an increase in nightmares whenever I started taking my blood pressure medication. But I will say, I talked about this in my sleep paralysis episode. Vyvanse, whenever I was on it, caused me to have terrible sleep paralysis and paranoia. So it was not fun.
Not fun. Sorry, I'm watching Love Island.
Number 7 is that they're rather common, which but while children have them more often than most, 50 to 70% of all adults get them occasionally, especially women, and 2 to 8% of adults get them frequently. Yeah. Number 8, you can make them stop. In addition to limiting behaviors that cause nightmares, you can also shut them down once they're begun. We've talked about that. Some medical professionals believe in a process called lucid dreaming. The process of my headphone just came out. But the process of becoming aware while still in a dream. Once lucid, the dreamer can acknowledge that there is no real danger and attempt to create an alternate ending, like how to defeat an attacker, rescue their children, escaping the sinking ship, etc. So a nice little bridge between our topics. And then there's also a trick to remember them. It's called imagery rehearsal therapy, IRT. And it's important because even if you don't remember all details of your nightmare, the stress of it can linger. Gabby and I also talked about this yesterday. But so first, write down as much of your bad dream that you can recall, which you talked about with journaling, and then think about a way to resolve it. The more you paint a mental picture of the solution, the easier it gets. Yeah. And this article was by a writer called Asher Fogel. So, yeah, if you want to go read that, you can go to goodhousekeeping.com and look for their 9 surprising facts about nightmares.
Ooh, fun fact about my nightmares is that I can't remember the last nightmare that I had that wasn't a lucid dream. For the past 4 years, 3 years since I was like 17. It's gonna be 4 years soon, but
you little baby.
No, but for the past 4 years, anytime I have a nightmare, I kind of realize it's a nightmare like right away. Like those are the dreams that it's easiest to lucid dream during, and it's very much like I don't have superpowers and I can't dictate the dream, but I can control my actions, and it is very liberating to be aware that your heart rate is slow while you're feeling fear. That aspect of lucid dreaming of feeling how relaxed your body is, energetically. your body is just very relaxed muscle wise, and like you can feel the like tension non-existent in your body, but like you're going through this very fearful, like dark, and like the environment of your mind is dark and spooky, but like having that awareness that I'm calm moving through that has been like very helpful for me to like navigate and process some of my like darker, fear ridden like emotional processes.
Yeah, and that's like whenever I was saying that about whenever I would have nightmares and gain awareness, like the fact that my heart rate would like speed up, like it would stand out to me, and I'd notice that my heart rate was speeding up, and I'd be like, "Wait a minute, hold on, what's happening?" You know? So, yeah. Cool. Well, without further ado, I will hop into my little nightmare slash lucid dream experience.
Get your
So,
popcorn.
huh?
I said, get your popcorn.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and keep it pretty summarized though, just because I don't want to make the time go too crazy. But what there are certain details and aspects to the dream that I'm like I need to like share that. But I do want to give some disclaimers first. Okay, so I'm gonna be talking about my experience with like lucid dreaming, but also it will touch a little bit on astral traveling and astral projection, which Sid and I went back and forth for a while because we could not figure out what we wanted the second part of this episode to be. And so that's why I decided just to talk about nightmares that like go hand in hand with lucid dreaming. The disclaimers are that I am pagan. I like do not I've been very open about that on the podcast. I've had other people from different parts of life on the podcast. Gabby is a Christian, so like we're not, like it's not like this is not like a witchy podcast, right? But those beliefs do come out sometimes in our bonus episodes and things like that. One of the things that I do want to talk about is that this nightmare that I'm going to talk about, like share with you guys, it was very traumatic for me. And because of how vivid, like of dreams that I have, there are certain aspects of the nightmare that I would not repeat for a very long time because I was afraid that it would cause the nightmare to come into waking reality. Now that I have moved on from it. I've been put on good anxiety medication and things like that. I've gone to therapy, all these different things. I've learned good tactics for sleeping. Lucid dreaming has kind of come to like the way I used to experience it has not happened for me anymore. I've gotten some distance from it, and I've realized like that some of that might have been more mental health rather than spirituality, if that makes sense. So there is a demon that is in my dream that I do have that demon's name that was made up in the dream. That demon, I have Googled the name so many different times, and I've never been able to find that it was a real demon that was ever cataloged in demonology. So I'm going to be sharing that demon's name today. Because I, at this point, believe that it was just a figment of my dream world that I was going through a lot at that point in time. It was my senior year, or it was the summer between my junior and senior year in college. I was under a lot of stress. I was visiting back home for the first time where there was some trauma I hadn't dealt with in my hometown and things like that. So I think all of that just sort of added together to bring this dream into my like unconscious. So just wanted to give that disclaimer. If you are a believer or have any superstitions about knowing a demon's name or knowing other deities' names, because there is a deity that I will be talking about too, then this may be a part of this episode that you may not want to listen to. So bless you, Sid. She has sneezed, which the audio hasn't picked it up, but she has sneezed like 5 times while I've been talking about that. You might be allergic to this demon, Sid.
I know, but it said deity, and then it shined on me looking all never-ending story on you bitches.
Period. Anyways, but yeah. So I will say something really, really cool about this dream is that the deity that I'm going to be talking about, I have never heard of before. Never did any research on or anything like that. And then I heard about in this dream, I heard their name for the first time, went and Googled and found them and was like, whoa. But it actually opened up a really cool like gateway for me to learn a lot about pre-Christianity, which was really cool. But I will say now to start all of that, with lucid dreaming, every single time that I would have, there were certain types of dreams that I would have where they were lucid dreaming, but it was more like I was visiting somewhere else. So sort of like what Sid was saying was like, you consider yourself a traveler while you're sleeping. I genuinely believe, like, just because my spiritual beliefs, that sometimes I was projecting or astral traveling in these dreams. And because I still do this sometimes. And basically the dream will start off where to talk about it in the verbiage that we've been using this whole time, when I start to exit my second state of sleep, or like when I'm in my second state or like cycle of sleep or stage of sleep,
Oh,
I
yeah.
will feel this really strange feeling that feels like a suction. I feel like I'm getting settled in, and I'll start a dream, or I'll start to enter a dream, and all of a sudden it's like everything will get really slow and still, and then I'll feel like this feeling. And I'll even hear that sound sometimes. And it's like I get yanked, like yoink, from wherever it is that am in my dream world to somewhere else. And I've had this experience frequently throughout my life. It very first started whenever I had to have some medical tests ran whenever I was 16 or 17. I had to go have an upper and lower GI. Ew, nobody likes those. But they had to go in and like cut out little like biopsies all throughout my body to run tests on and stuff like that. And I did have to go under anesthesia. And so instead of being asleep, I actually, like, instead of just like they said, you would close your eyes, and then the next thing you know, you open your eyes and you're awake again. But that's not how it happened for me. Like, I kept awareness as I was falling asleep under anesthesia, but I could not move my body. I could not talk. I could not like communicate or anything like that. That sounds very terrifying, but don't worry, I did not have to experience the medical procedure the whole time. I did like leave my body. And so I like literally fell backwards into my body, could see like far up ahead of like above me a bright light where I could see like nurses, like the nurses doing stuff, and hear them talking to me. And I even said something to them whenever I woke up. I was like, yeah, I could hear you saying this and this. And they were like, you were like gone. You couldn't hear us. And I was like, no, I could hear you. I just couldn't respond to you. I was like, but I couldn't feel anything either. So it wasn't like discomforting. But after, it was not for long. I did not lay there very long before I went somewhere else. And so that was the first time I ever experienced that like feeling. And I did it several times throughout my dreams after that. And whenever I go to this other place or these other places, there's always a language that I speak in. And it's not English. This is important for the nightmare. It's not English. It's not any language I've ever heard before that I know of. And it's basically like just this other language that everyone there speaks. I cannot repeat it when I'm awake. Have no way to tell you what I've said. I can translate it into English and I can tell you words that I've said, but I just speak it, right? If I start speaking it when I'm in a dream where the dream is not somewhere else and I'm speaking English all throughout the dream, it sounds like gibberish to me and I don't understand it well. It's weird. But anyways, so this nightmare that started, I started to fall asleep. I was having my internal monologue like I usually do, and I felt the suction, and I was sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm going to visit somewhere else," because I'll keep awareness when that happens. The feeling, I always keep awareness all throughout the whole thing, and I can recall everything the next day.
Yeah.
And so I feel myself start to do that, and I like feel the suction, and I land sitting up. And when I open my eyes, I lose all awareness. So I am no longer sleeping, or at least in my head, like I'm no longer sleeping. I'm sitting in a living room of an apartment that it looks very 70s esque. And said, you look terrified.
It's because, but it's Sam. It's because we're water signs, and I'm empathing right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So the dream starts off, and in the dream, so this dream happened in the summer of 2018. So it was the summer before my senior year of college. And in the dream, I was about my age now, actually. So probably around 26, 27. I'm 26 now. And so in the dream, I was in a living room area that looked very like there were lots of dark blues and hardwood. And it was very like 70s esque. Like my couch was like looked like corduroy. And like there was a small box TV and everything. I was even wearing like 70s kind of pants. Like I was wearing like a button down and things like that. And I had longer hair like I do now, but my hair was brown. And I like at the time that I had the dream, I always kept my hair very, very short. And so I'm sitting there and I wake up and I'm looking as if I'm watching TV. There's a remote next to me, but the TV is completely off and it's got the bunny ears, antenna, little entertainment center and everything. I'm just looking at the TV and I hear a knock on my door. And so I get up, go check the door, and it's this woman that is like, "Are you Mr. Brown?" And I was like, "Yeah, my name's Sam Brown." Just an FYI for anybody that doesn't know my last name. So I'm like, "Yes, I'm Sam Brown." She was like, "Cool, this is my name." Cannot remember her name. to save my life. But she was like, I, own blah, 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 event planning. I forget what the name of the business was. But she was like, and I was sent to contact you and recruit you for a job. Can I come in? And I was like, sure. So I invite her in. I go make us tea.
Okay.
It was
Okay,
yeah.
what's
I know. So I go make us tea, and she's wearing like a blazer skirt combo, glasses, but she has like just a t-shirt on under the blazer. Her hair's up in like a high ponytail, and she has a clipboard with her that has like all these different brochures and like notes.
serving preppy.
Huh?
So she's serving preppy.
Yes, but very like put together, very like straightforward about business, everything else. And so she explains to me, she was like, we were contacted by the one, and that's all she would ever refer to him as. And she was like, we were contacted by the one, and he is wanting us to go to this island that is just off the coast of Florida that has these.
Okay, hell no.
Yeah.
You can't take me to some type of island off of Florida.
Yeah.
Listen here.
Yeah.
And all of Jordan Peele's films, okay?
Oh my God. Jordan Peele, do you hear? TM. We'll make this. Anyways, but she's like, like he's hiring my event planning company to like go blah blah blah. And I was like, event planning, like you're not like, this is a whole excursion. Like, why are you like doing this? And she was like, well, we specialize in like events that are like, offshore, on boats, on cruises, like going to other countries, things like that. Like we also help with like travel events too. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so she was like, he has tasked me with putting together a team that would be the perfect, bubble for this. And I was like, okay, so why are you contacting me? So tell me why. She literally goes like pulls out a brochure of me, about me. And see, the thing is, in the dream, I made this brochure. Like this was me. In the dream, I was like a famous psychic and witch, and I was known like literally countrywide, a little bit of outside the country. I had like several documentaries about me. Like I would go to like haunted places and like like literally like yeah. And so I was like this famous like witch and like paranormal investigator. And she huh?
I said, okay, go off though.
I know. I thought you said I think you are though. And I was like, not quite famous yet, but maybe one day. Anyway, so I mean, I would say well known. I have a small following. Anyways, so
what?
Yeah, one of my like business partners and best friends, she's been on Disney Channel and on Hulu, and she's been in a Lionsgate movie. You might have heard of her. Her name is Sid Floyd.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Anyway, so she actually runs the website for this really great small production company called Enhance. So yeah, and she like writes the blogs.
If you want to know about aesthetics and my new code, serving code.
Anyway, so yeah, so she's like, because of your experience with like the supernatural blah blah, and I was like, what? And she's like, this island is haunted. She's like, it is severely haunted. She was like, there are no people on it. Like people will literally go to it as a tourist attraction, but it is so dangerous. And she was like, it is haunted. There are a bunch of like old like indigenous ruins there. And like, I'm saying indigenous because I don't know what word she used, but it was saying like, she was saying there were, but like, basically there were people there. And just like all indigenous people in the North America, South America, and surrounding areas, were completely destroyed by colonization. But this island was completely uninhabited. You could go there and see like old ruins that were falling apart because nobody could live there. And so she was like, we need someone who can help guide us. She's like, people have went missing on this island because of the fact that it's so haunted. Like they'll just go missing from their groups, so on and so forth. And so I was like, no, I'm good. Thanks.
Like spooky dream.
Yeah. And so I was like, no, good. Thanks. Keep in mind, I have lost all awareness at this point. I don't know I'm dreaming, which is very strange for me. So like I started off the dream in this very jarring, like, whoa, where am I kind of feeling? But then like as the dream goes on, remember, oh, this is my apartment. This is this, like have no recollection that I'm dreaming, and it feels like a real like snippet of life. And I have like slice of life dreams like that where I lived living in another reality or living in a different setup and things like that. And I'll wake up and be like, whoa, that was just a dream. Okay, weird, jarring. But this one just had a very started off with a very eerie feeling. you know, because it's like I had awareness, then I just didn't. And I had to like kind of take a minute to get myself back. So, yeah. So anyway, so I'm like, no thanks. So then she like spits a number out at me of how much I would get paid to go do this. And it was like $25,000 to go on a trip with them and be there for no more than like 2 days. And I was like, okay, all right, yeah, sure, I'll do that. When? Like now, let's go. And so I was just like, okay.
45K for 2 days is not so egregious that you're like, okay, I'm not worth that much. Then okay,
Yeah,
go.
exactly. So I was like, all right. So anyways, just like in a movie, it like literally cuts to the next scene, and I'm on the boat arriving at the island, and this is where the whole like heist team gets introduced. You how like in the heist movie it's like and like the music and everything, and you have like the different people.
An elite team task
Yes. Exactly. But this team was literally made up of her. So she was like the brains and the person running it. Me, the like spiritual person that like could guide them through this island spiritually. There was a excavator. Jesus Christ. He like was an archaeologist that was experienced in going to places that had not been inhabited for a very long time and exploring them and like looking like he was very good at recognizing certain things as, oh, this used to be a building that did this, and things like that. There was a hunter that like literally that specialized in like game and things like that, and like going and hunting. And then there was like just tracking things, tracking animals, stuff like that. And then there was a dude that he was a scientist, but he was like a biologist, but he specialized in like jungle plants and things like that. And so he
like Jumanji.
Okay, yeah, yes. So, like,
I don't know why.
I mean, I can kind of see why you would say Jumanji, because it was a jungle. I mean, it was very jungle-esque. So not totally wrong. Yeah. So maybe also, that the suction feeling too, because the original Jumanji, it was the board game, and Robin Williams, his character, but as a child, got literally suctioned into the game, like board game, and then in the remake, the characters get suctioned into a video game. So it kind of
But it's interesting that you mentioned that kind of like suction feeling, because like it's difficult to like touch on the realm of lucid dreaming without also kind of thinking about astral projection, if that's something that you already like have a background knowledge in.
Yeah.
And I'll describe it as like, it's like you have to be pulled out of your own gravity.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I like that.
Right? I wrote that in my notes.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is the team that this woman has put together, and we all are on this boat arriving onto the island. This is where, like I said, all the characters get introduced and everything. And we land on the island. It is a very marshy, dark, like overcasty island. Like it literally is humid. It's like just the air feels very thick, and it just feels like moist. Like when you step off the ship and you're there, it's just like it's grody, right? And so basically the ship is like, okay, so like it's not going to stay there on the island with us. It's supposed to we're supposed to be there for a couple of days. So we will be staying overnight, and they will come back and get us the next day, because they could not find someone who would stay there and man a ship overnight, because of how scary the island was. Yeah. So anywho, so we very first start the trek, everything's fine, everything feels a little creepy, but really the game dude, like the hunter, and the planter dude are really leading the way, but the archaeologist or excavator or whatever, he's like kind of staying back and like kind of stepping in at different points and being like, okay, you have to be careful because this looks like a part of the jungle that would have grown up later than like the other parts, like you can tell by the way the ground is structured, and like he's just explaining different things like that. And so I all of a sudden get this like very like eerie feeling. And like keep in mind too that I'm in a group of people that like don't really believe in ghosts. Like they're like the only person that really is like kind of like wants to make sure the best of the best are there is like the girl that's in charge. And it's not even because she believes in ghosts. She's just like, I want to be prepared for anything. And the one, that's all we keep calling him. And we'll refer to him him as him sometimes. So we'll say the one and him. And we like he like specifically said that he wanted me to come. Like he recommended each person like by name, and like he had a few replacements for other people, but he didn't have a replacement for me. He was like, you have to get him. So I was like, oh. So anyways, we're walking through, and all of a sudden I get this strange eerie feeling, and I can start hearing this like weird staticky whisper in my head. And I'm like, do you guys hear that? And no one else hears it. And they're like, what's happening? What's going on? And I was like looking around trying to figure out what it was. And all of a sudden, the only way I know how to describe it is that there was a similar feeling to the whoosh, like the suction, but it just felt like I was on a plane and I slid rather than like being suctioned somewhere. I just kind of got slid across the plane. And I turn and look, and I'm no longer in the part of the jungle I was in. And I'm like, no, I'm not with the rest of the group anymore. And so we do have walkie-talkies. I do want to preface that because I forgot to mention that we like brought walkie-talkies just in case we got separated. We're also all
like, I'm so scared for you right now.
so anyway, so we're also all wearing cameras too. That way we can like track what happens to us. And so I immediately start to bloop over the like walkie-talkie, but static comes through, and like I can't get in touch with other people. And so I hear this like the hissing sound now behind me, and it's like a laugh, like a deep, deep laugh. And I turn and look, and there's this little girl that's probably like every bit of like 12 years old. And she's like very skinny, very bony. She has like long, matted red hair. And she has like these black veins all over her face, and her eyes are completely blackened. And she's like laughing at me. And I was like, I just was,
Children.
I know. But so in the dream, I was not scared of her though. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Here start the antics, right? And I'm next to these ruins, like where like I'm like, I just literally roll my eyes and ignore her. Like I mean, it was a male's voice coming out of this little girl, or a masculine voice. So I literally just like was like, okay, this is not like an actual little girl. This is just a spirit trying to scare me. And so I was like, I do not have time for this. Like, I've got to find the rest of the team. And I was like, dude, just leave me alone. Like, literally, just go away. And so I start walking, trying to like, get service back on the walkie-talkie, and I walk through these ruins. But you know how like in a dream, you'll do something, but you're not fully aware of what you're doing, but like dream you is aware of what you're doing. Does that make sense? So that's what was happening here. I was scheming. Like Dream Me was scheming. I was like, I'm about to trap this little bitch, And so like, basically I get underneath the ruins, and there's like this archway, and the demon is like following behind me. And this is the same demon that I was talking about at the beginning of the dream that I will say the name of, but I will say it later on because at this point in time, I don't know the demon's name. And so at this point in time, I still just think that it's a spirit. Like, I don't think it's like an actual demon. And so he's following behind me and trying to like poke and prod me, and is like, basically like, you're not going to succeed in finding blah, 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 blah. And what we were sent there to find were these 3 artifacts that the one wanted. And they were all just like 4-dimensional shapes. Like one was a cube, one was a sphere, and one was a cone. So like a pyramid, but round on the bottom instead. And they were all located on different parts of this island in different ruin areas, just like white people to go and like take things from an island that does not belong to them, from an ancient culture that like they had nothing to do with it except for like by killing out. So, but anyways, so where he's like, you're not going to find this. Like, we've been waiting for you to come here a long time, blah, 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 blah. And he starts saying my name. And I was like, how do you know my name? And he was like, in my defense, we all know your name here. And I was like, no. So I wait for him to get underneath the doorway to the like ruins, and I turn around and I say a spell, but when I do, it like when it comes out in that other language that I was like that I speak when I'm in other places. And I don't know what the spell was, but yeah, so I say it, and all of a sudden these like vines come out and wrap around the spirit and bind him there. So it was a binding spell. Cool. And so then after I bind him there, he starts laughing, but I'm able to walk far away from him, and the walkie-talkie starts working again. And so then I do some other type of spell where I just kind of like do this and like wave my hand in front of my face, and I see this string come out, and it like separates into five, or yeah, no, so like five including me, five different places,
Mhm.
and it's pointing to where like all of the other people are. And
Okay.
so I call over the walkie-talkie, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank God! But like we've been trying to like call you or like like get in touch with you. Like, are you okay, Paul?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was like, "Are you guys all separated too?" And they're like, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay, I can see where you're at. Don't worry. Like, I'm coming." And so it doesn't take me long to like get to each of them and like follow them because of the weird string spell that I did in the dream. I can't do any of this in real life, by the way. It's like,
Would love to though.
but yeah, but so I find them, and we end up getting like very after we find the fifth person, we get very close to the other artifact, and we go and we get it, and it's the cube. I think is the first one we find. So we grab it, we continue looking, everything else, it shifts again, atmosphere like shifts again, and we're now separated again. And guess who's there but the little girl demon, right? And so similar thing happens except for where I like do something and bind it and then go on about my way. This repeats over and over again, right? But when we get ready to find the last artifact, so whenever like we found the cube, then we find the sphere, the last one is the calm. And so when we get ready to find this last one, the atmosphere like shifts again. And I felt like I'm there with this demon, and I was like, I'm getting tired of this. Like, I'm getting real tired of this. Like, this is annoying at this point. So I'm like, I'm gonna banish this bitch. Like, I'm not even gonna bind it. I'm gonna banish it. Like, I'm gonna send it to another round. Like, I'm tired of this, right? And so I get there and I go to do a spell or something like that that basically makes it to where like it will literally get pulled into another realm, but it doesn't work. And I was like, what, why isn't this working? Like, why is this thing still here? Well, it goes to attack me. Like the little girl goes to attack me. And I reach out and I grab her like by the throat. And when I do, I feel like a physical body. Like it's not like a spirit. And I immediately realized like this is not like a spirit. This is a little girl that is here and possessed. And so she like smiles at me and then just disappears. And so I'm like, oh my God, like this is a 12-year-old girl that is stuck on this island possessed. And so I am like now shook, right? Like I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't leave this little girl here. And so I get back to the group and I tell them, because I haven't told them this whole time that the spirit has been like taunting me because like I didn't want to scare them, right? But now I tell them, I'm like, oh, there's a 12-year-old girl stuck on this island possessed. And they're all like, okay, we can find the last artifact. It's supposed to be nearby. If you want to go and figure out how to like save her, go ahead. So I go throughout this island and I'm just like trying to find different places that I can go like communicate with different spirits and things like that. And I finally like venture into this forest, and there is this one spot in the forest that is the only place in the jungle that the light, like sunlight, is touching. And there's this pretty little bed of flowers. And I was like, that's a good sign. I like that. Right. And so I walk into the forest and I go stand in the middle of it. And these three spirits that are very like whimsical and pretty and everything, and like they come dancing out and they talk like this. And like it's very like, yeah, takes a very strange turn. But they were all like, they reminded me of the little fairies from the Sleeping Beauty, but I mean, not Sleeping Beauty. No, yeah, it was Sleeping Beauty. But like they instead like just imagine very tall, whimsical, long, like humanoid type creatures.
Very
And
nymph
so
vibes giving.
very what?
Very like giving very nymph vibes.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Or like what's the dryads? You know what I'm talking about? Like the
Ooh, yeah, dryads, dryads.
dryads. Yeah. So yeah, but
Dryads, I don't know.
but yeah, those Greek beautiful creatures. But
Yes.
yeah, so they come dancing out and they come around in a circle around me, and they're like, they basically tell me that because I'm trying to figure out what this demon's name is. Because if you like, typically speaking in demonology or like old like Christian lore and things like that, if you know a demon's name, you have power over it. And so I was trying to find this demon's name so I could like demand it to leave and things like that. And this demon, or the three little spirits come out, or like little, they were like as tall as me, but they come out dancing and they tell me that they don't know the demon's name, but they know the little girl's name and that her name is Ashira. And I was like, cool, all right. So I was like, I can at least do that. And so I'm on my way back to the group, and whenever I step out of the forest, I am no longer like in the jungle. I'm at my high school's football field. And I'm like looking around and it's very overcast, very scary looking. I'm all by myself and I'm like, where am I? And I hear the laughing again. And I turn around and look and there's the little girl. And I like tell like him, I'm like, get out of my head. Like, I did not give you permission to get in my head. Like, you're not allowed to be here. Like, you can't pull on my memories like this. And he was like, I know your name, so therefore I can do what I want with your mind. And I was like, well, I may not know your name, but I know hers. And he was like, whose? And I said, Ashira, I call you forward. And so he looks scared, but then all the black like veins go away and the little girl comes forward. And she's like immediately looks really confused and starts crying. And I was like, Shira, I don't have a lot of time, but you're on this island. You're stuck here. I need you to tell me the demon's name. I need to know his name. And she is still freaking out. And she was like, no, like, where am I? You know, like, I don't know where I'm at, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, look, like, you have to tell me his name. Like, do you know his name? And she was like, where's my mom and dad? Like, the last thing I remember is that my mom and dad and I were on a helicopter. And I was like, you were on a helicopter? I was like, what, like, when was this? And she was like, it's the last thing I remember, so it had to be recent. I was like, how old were you when this happened? And she was like, I'm 8. I'm 8 years old. She's not. She's like 12 years old. So she's been stuck on this island for like 4 years. And yeah. So evidently what ended up happening, and I find this out by putting 2 and 2 together and like also just watching the rest of the dream go out, she was possessed and her parents like called a priest to come and try and like exorcise the demon out of her, and it didn't work. And so they just flew her on a helicopter to this island and abandoned her. And she's just been there ever since. So I can see like in her throat, this is where like scary movies. So you look so shocked.
Okay, wait, I need the Google to come on my. I am like so flabbergasted right now. I am like, so if the shit is going down,
Yeah.
this girl was straight up abandoned
Yeah.
by her parents.
Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah, the priest told
they
her
were
parents that she was a lost cause, and so they were like, "We ain't doing this shit," and they left her on that island. Yeah. So
okay. So what does bad bitch the psychic witch Sam do? Okay.
so I can see like this is where like Exorcist kind of stuff, like the movie Exorcist shit starts happening. I can see him like coming back up through her throat and getting like closer to her head again. And like it's like it looks like a face like moving and like hands like clawing. And so she like it's like I can feel him, he's coming back, and I was like, what is his name? Tell me what his name is. And she looks at me and she says his name is Aleo. And when she says that, that's when her eyes turn black again and her face turns black. It like gets the black veins and everything all over it. But it's him again, but he just looks terrified. So he literally like scoots over to me because I'm like so far away from her at this point. And like he like scoots over to me and like goes to attack me. But I grab her like by the hair of the head and I start like Pentecostal speaking in tongues style, like shaking her and like screaming. And I'm like speaking in tongues, but like in that other language that is that all my spells have been in this like whole dream. And it like the whole world starts shifting. It's very dramatic. Like the world starts glitching because keep in mind, like we're seeing my high school football field from my memories. And so it starts glitching and the jungle starts coming back through. And so I'm like shaking her and screaming and like telling him to leave her. And like the wind is picking up and like we're both like levitating into the air and everything else. And like now the rest of the team is like found me and they're witnessing all of this and they're like getting blown around. They're like, trying to hold on to stuff and everything. And so there's one final part where like he like we start like fighting in the air and he gets my hands off of his head, but I like have him by the arms and his head like he starts to kind of break away and you can see her coming like in and out and in and out like it's going back and forth between them. But there's one final point where you start to see him kind of like come through her throat and then you see hands under her skin grab her throat like this and break it and then break again and then turn back around and look at me. And it's him again. And this is what I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, sorry for the F bomb, but what the hell? Because he looks at me and he says, I'm here with the Olympians. They wanted me to tell you that you're such a winner. And then he laughed this like evil maniacal laugh and then projected out of her mouth. And when he projected out of her mouth, you look so shocked again.
I really did not expect this. I don't know what I expected, but this is not the Olympians. Rick Riordan, where are you at? Pull up.
Maybe I should have saved this for Horror Hump Day this year.
Ooh, wait, no, keep going. My
Okay.
heart likes it.
Yeah. So basically he projects out of her mouth, everything chills out, we're back in the jungle, we hit the ground, he lands like in this like pile of rocks and starts trying to scoot around. He's just like a little black glob at this point. Like there's no facial features or anything, very shiny though, very shimmering black glob. And so I like take a seashell, like a big seashell that's nearby, and scoop him up and like do this spell to where he's like stuck to the seashell and like he can't move now. And I just like chunk that bitch. I'm like, you're staying on this damn island. So now the little girl is like awake, and she's like, oh my gosh, you saved me, like blah, 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 all this other stuff, like super grateful. No, she's not dead. She survived.
Oh
So
my
yeah, the rest of the team start coming up, and I see the ship that's supposed to be bringing us home arriving. But my heart rate is pounding still, and I'm still like in panic mode. And I'm sitting there looking around, and I'm like, something's not right. Like something still isn't, like something is still wrong, right? And so this little girl is just like so excited, and she goes around and she starts like calling out all these other spirits that are there by name that she's made friends with over the years, that like would comfort her in her only moments of lucidity, like where she was aware that she was, stuck on this island and things like that. And like that she was like, she wasn't really sure where she was at and things, because if you remember, she still thought she was 8 years old. And she's telling them, she's like, I'm free, I get to go home, like, and they're like, you'll see like little spirits coming in and like giving her hugs and telling her bye and leaving and stuff like that. And like the whole team is walking up and they're like, this is crazy, like we didn't believe in ghosts, but now we do. And I'm still sitting there like panicking. And the woman that's leading the group comes up and she's like, are you okay? Like everything's fine, like like calm down, like we got the artifacts, you saved this girl, we're going home. And I was like, no, something's not right, we can't leave. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, the little girl did not come here with us, we cannot leave with her. And like I'm sitting there like this is where I start to gain awareness again. I'm like, I'm not on an island, I'm not in a jungle, this isn't real, like something's wrong. And she looks at me and she's like, no, I can doctor the paperwork. Like I've ran this entire thing. I can make it to where it looks like we brought her here with us and that we're bringing her home long enough just to get her there. Like, it's okay. We can free her. And I was like, no, we cannot leave with her. She cannot get on the ship with us. And like, I start to get really upset. And the more upset I get, the harder my heartbeat starts to like pound. And whenever it does, it gets to a certain point that they start to get a little aggressive. They're like, we're leaving. Like, we have to go. We were paid for this job. And they start arguing with me, that the world starts shaking. And I start to like realize I'm in a dream. And so I just did the thing where I was like, this isn't real. This isn't real. And it took so long for that nightmare to end, but it finally did. And I woke up. And that was the last time that I had that nightmare. And that was the last time that I gained lucidity in a dream like that. Like gained awareness and also entered awareness, or like entered a dream with awareness. I've touched on it some now, but like I said, it's very different. It's not the same as what it used to be. I'm like, yeah. But here's a fun fact before we chat about it and discuss. Ashira, I went and Googled it because I went into this like long process of trying to figure out what this dream could have meant, if like this was a real demon, things like that. I did not find a demon named Aleo anywhere in any of the stuff I researched, but Ashira is the name of God's mother, Yahweh's mother, like in Christianity. So,
Okay.
yeah, so his like, because like in Christianity, people are like, oh well, he's always been and he always will be, like he has no beginning. But actually, in Jewish and Sumerian lore,
Yeah.
he had a mom and dad named El and Ashira was his mom.
Fun fact. Oh my gosh, that dream is crazy. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Teehee.
I wonder what it could mean. I think it just means that you are awesome and know a lot about a lot of stuff. And
I
you
appreciate
know a lot about scary stuff too.
Well, I had never actually heard of Ashira ever. I mean, I'm sure like someone could argue, well, would have had to have heard her about her at some point in order to like know her name. But the only time I can honestly tell you that I've ever heard her name, and somebody else reminded me of this before this, was in that movie Prince of Egypt. They sing about her. Like there's a song that's like they go like Ashira, Ashira, but I mean I didn't know what that was, you know. So I mean I'm sure coincidentally I could have like named the little girl like Ashira, but I also have not watched that movie since I was like 3 years old. So I mean like you know, but either way, like that's what somebody pointed out when I was like I've never heard of that name before. Like I literally that dream was the first time I ever heard that name because apparently some people call it pronounce it Ashera, but like the only place that like I've heard of also that called it like Ashira was the Prince of Egypt song because somebody played it for me and I was like, it doesn't sound familiar, but I did see that movie when I was like 3 years old. So sure, you know, like maybe,
Oh,
you know. So
you keep saying Ashira, and it makes me think of is like how in Demon Slayer they have the Hashira.
Ashira, yeah. I just caught up on Demon Slayer. I say caught up. I caught up on everything that's on Netflix. But
It's so good.
and this was a dream about a demon. I'm just kidding. I haven't watched or I didn't watch Demon Slayer until after college and I had the stream. But still, like, yeah, very interesting.
That's very interesting though that like you gained lucidity after the kind of scary part of the dream, or that like the scary part of the dream was more like a physiological response,
Hmm.
like that kind of stemmed from your heart rate increasing and then you gaining lucidity, um which is kind of weird. It's almost like maybe you were moving from like REM sleep back into your second stage of sleep because
Hmm.
you go first stage, second stage, third stage, second stage again,
Yeah.
and REM sleep, and then second stage again
Hmm.
before repeating the process like all over again.
Yeah.
And but because like at least you and I subjectively have an experience of like kind of doing some meditative work in the like second stage of sleep,
Hmm.
I wonder if there's not like more wiggle room for us to like wake up at the end of our dreams.
Yeah, I will say too that my experience with meditating into sleep and stuff like that, and my really bad sleeping, like I've always had troubles sleeping and weird sleeping and vivid dreams and things like that, but it really started after that dream. Like that dream changed the way that I sleep. And so, yeah, and so that's whenever I started having to meditate to go to sleep. So I had that dream toward the end of the summer, and there was a lot of weird shit spiritually that happened for me that summer. So I'm sure it all just kind of like intertwines into each other. But I went like for the first like 2 months of college, I started just getting like ill, like very, very sick. Like I was tired all the time. I was in pain. I was just aching all the time. And I just like never had energy. I was extremely fatigued. I just did not feel well. And this was my senior year too. And so I finally one night I was having really bad like sinus issues and I was just having trouble like just like I had been having trouble sleeping and a friend of mine that lived down the hall was like, "Do you want a Benadryl? Like that may, help you kind of like, if you're having like some type of sinus issues and stuff like that." And I was like, "Sure." And when I took that Benadryl, I slept for like 14 hours. And when I woke up the next day, I like wasn't aching. I wasn't like, I didn't have a headache. I wasn't like, there was none of that was happening. I actually felt like a little bit, like I had a little bit more energy. And I realized I had not been having like restful sleep since I had that nightmare. And then I realized I was like, I haven't been having dreams and dream and like there's people say you like dream every night, it's just you may not remember them sometimes, but I'm somebody who remembers my dreams even if it's just for a little bit. And I recall like after that dream for the first like 2 or 3 months after I had that dream, I just felt like I was like catnapping at night, like sort of like what we were talking about where like you would just stay in that second stage of sleep. That's what I felt like.
Yeah, but you know that just all of the bodily and neurological restorative processes that happen in deep sleep, they're so essential, I think, to like a good night's sleep. And it was something that even I, was reading that, like thinking, oh gosh, well, that's probably why I've been tired. Because, it is so important to having a restful night's sleep. Your brain is doing really important computation, especially if you're in college. You're learning things so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so important that your brain has enough time to kind of solidify that. But also, when you're learning a lot of things on your brain, like, it makes your body tired. And I don't know. I feel like we do more with our bodies than we like give our bodies credit for being tired for.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, my body isn't tired. I didn't do that. Yeah, yeah, it is. Your body is tired.
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
so yeah, it's really important that you have REM sleep and that you have your third stage of sleep,
Yeah.
because that is where just so many important processes take place. And when you aren't getting enough sleep, then your body is like missing out on very crucial time that it was spending.
Yeah.
Six.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's, I mean, yeah. And that was something that too, around that time period, that I would start taking Benadryl and melatonin back and forth just so my body wouldn't get used to them. And like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it all the time. I would do it like maybe like once a week. But that's when I started having sleep paralysis. And that's whenever I started having, like just more nightmares. I would have these like extreme out of body nightmares where I would like live in a different reality. Like I had one dream that Aleo actually like came back over and over and over again in my dreams, and was like would always make reference to being stuck on the island, but he would have different forms. And like there was one dream where he was able to possess people and like followed me throughout dreams, and I lived in like an alternate reality for like 15 years, like in the dream. This was not real. Like this was a dream, like reality speaking, like I am a human being living in a third dimensional reality. Like I'm reality checking, I'm awake. But I really there for a little bit was like convinced that I might be potentially like experiencing other realities. Because, and you know what, in a spiritual sense, or in a like, we don't know the full like, like aspects that come with different realities and dreams and things like that. But for mental health,
and in dreams especially.
wait, what now?
But time is not linear, and in dreams,
Exactly. And also like you just have to, that's something that I've harped on a lot, like to have healthy spirituality and believe like time isn't linear and things like that, you still have to have an aspect of groundedness, or you're just not going to be living a human experience. And that's the whole point, And so like groundedness speaking, I'm here, I'm Sam Brown, I'm living, I'm doing a podcast episode right now, a bonus episode with Sid. Like this is my life. Like I don't have an alternate life, an alternate reality. This is me right here in this moment, And like I have a lot of theories and weird beliefs, but groundedly speaking, and like how I stay grounded is just remembering I'm a 3D person here, But anyway, so that was something that like I struggled with for a long time, is that he kept coming back into my dreams. And like there was even a dream that I had one time that Ashira possessed someone, like the like goddess Ashira possessed somebody and was like coming after me in a dream. But with that, like I took that more of a spiritual thing, and like I actually started like in my practice working with Ashira some and realizing that I shouldn't interpret the anger or aggression at me, because whenever I started researching what like Ashira stood for and her history and things like that, after Jesus died, I think it was like 30 something years or so after Jesus died, is whenever basically worship to Ashira became banned. And basically everyone just started writing her out of the stories of Jesus and Yahweh and Christianity and Judaism and things like that. And so I was like, well, if she's angry and this is really like the goddess like giving me a sign or something like that, that's probably why she's angry. So then I just started letting her be a normal part of my practice, where I'll pray to her sometimes, or I'll teach people about her sometimes, or if somebody is struggling with something specifically but doesn't know which deity to pray to, I'll I'll suggest researching Ashira and like seeing if that would be a good fit for them, because she's just a really cool.
Exists.
Do I know?
Well, did you know that Ashira exists? Have you met Ashira?
Yeah, and I mean, and I've never like felt afraid of her, but that dream just like really scarred me for a little bit. So, but anyways, yeah. So, I finally have gotten to a good, healthy place with sleep again, where I have a balance, you know, like I still struggle with insomnia. I'm on medication for insomnia, and I have to also take it sort of like as needed, because if I take it, it'll make me want to sleep throughout the next day too and like be very groggy. And so I just have to, you know, find a balance. But I think I've done that. I think I'm doing pretty good with it. So
Yeah. And it's finding what works for you, what works with your life, what works with your schedule, with your time, with your energy, with what you can afford to expend energy and effort wise. But also, I struggle with insomnia, and I am not on any type of prescription medication. But Ollie has some great all natural sleep vitamins that I
yeah,
take myself. I don't have any affiliation with Ollie,
yeah,
OLLY, but it
I
works.
like their stuff too. Yeah.
But there's a ton of natural vitamins for sleep that's more
Oh,
than just melatonin.
sorry, I just forgot about this. I wanted to throw this out there too. Mugwort. Mugwort is an herb that can help with lucid dreaming. I want to just throw that out there. You can take some mugwort, and I'm not a specialist. I'm not an herbologist. I'm not a like I'm not a medical professional. So by all means, do your own research, find your own thing, consult your own professionals. But mugwort is a herb that you can brew into tea, and it can help with your like lucid dreaming if you're wanting. It can help give you vivid dreams. It can help with lucid dreaming. It actually can also help menstrual cycles. It can help with gut health. It can help with digestive issues. And actually, it was used. It was one of the herbs that would be used to help terminate a pregnancy back in the old days. So, yeah.
Oh, fun little lesson on mugwort. Okay,
Hmm.
wait. To kind of close us out and to wrap the different avenues, as in to peep Sam's TikTok, because he is the expert in all things fun and tarot. Can I draw a tarot card for our Weird Wednesday lucid dreaming episode in my Sam
Yes. Oh my gosh,
bag?
I miss those bags. I need to start. Oh, go check out my Etsy store, Mage Farms. But I need to sell some of those bags on.
Mage
Um,
Farms. Go
yeah,
check
Mage
out
Farms.
Sam's Etsy store is live.
Yeah.
And
Now,
uh,
disclaimer: I do not sell those bags on my Etsy store. That was an old Etsy store that old business partner and I did together. But those were some of the bags that we sold. I do plan to sell some things um cool like that in the future. I think the first thing I'll probably branch into are stickers, because I have a bunch of fun sticker designs. But right now, I sell herb bundles, my tarot cards or tarot card readings, and I sell live plants. So yeah, definitely go check it out. But Sid, take it away. Pull a tarot card for us.
yes. Oh, okay. All right. Yes. Okay. So we have got actually I want to repull that one. But so I'm using just tarot things. I'm using the Line Strider's Journey, which is here we go. I love this. I'm using the Line Strider's Journey by Silo Thompson, and just to give you guys a quick little peek at what the cover looks like, it's just so
Aw,
it's got just all these just gorgeous little, and here's just my one of my favorites, the world sign, just to give you guys a little peek at the Line Strider.
yeah.
But I pulled Temperance, and
Oh
this
yeah.
is what the card looks like. I want to give a decent angle, but also podcast listeners, to give you a description. It is a gorgeous, like burgundy pink color, and there's this Greek goddess angel with her arms facing, with her palms facing upwards. And she's got on a toga with a square on her chest with a red triangle on the square. And here's what Silo Thompson has to say about temperance: balance, moderation, communication, management of resources, art, and healing. This is the hermaphrodite angel, the child of Hermes and Aphrodite.
Ooh.
Of 50. Indicating a balance between the genders. The angel has 1 foot on dry land, representative of the material world, and 1 foot in the water, representative of the subconscious. This also represents the need to test the water before jumping into things. Temperance indicates that you are learning to bring about balance, patience, and moderation in your life. The square on the chest signifies earth, a sign of strength of will, and the triangle inside the square protects the feminine aspect by natural law. This card usually features the angel holding 2 cups that represents the sub and superconscious minds. 1 cup can be thought of as holding hot water and the other cold water. The open palms indicate the dynamic of water flowing between the lower and higher hands, signifying rising from a lower plane to a higher one. The temperate individual mixes the opposites and finds a balance in life by avoiding extremes. And this corresponds to Taurus, Sagittarius, and Scorpio astrology, the numbers 14 and 5, and the plants echinacea, bergamot, and clover. So
I
if
love
you'd like
that.
to add any herbs to your tea, think about echinacea, bergamot, or clover if you are getting inspired to try lucid dreaming from this episode of Enhanced.
Love that. Yes. Thank you for pulling that, Sid. And Temperance is one of my favorite tarot cards.
It really is awesome. But I think that that's an awesome card because lucid dreaming is all about having awareness, which
Yeah.
comes a mental and inner fortitude as well as balanced stability, balanced, grounded, stable, temperance.
Definitely.
Temperate.
Love that. Well, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to another bonus episode, A Weird Wednesday for Enhanced Podcast. I'm your host, Sam, and today I was joined by the lovely Sid. And again, if you have not went and seen any of Sid's awesome blogs or content on the blog for Enhanced, you can go to enhanced.productions. There's no .com, .net, anything like that. It's literally just http:// that whole thing that goes at the beginning of the website, enhanced.productions. And yeah, so you can go to that, and then you could also, I think it's /blog, and that'll take you there, or you can just go to Enhanced Productions and click on the blog. So yeah, and if you search that on Google, just an FYI, Sid and Gabby and I realized this last week, you have to type in like quotations like Enhance Productions or Enhance Blog, like you have to, or Enhance podcast and things like that, like because enhance is an adjective. The SEO thinks that you're trying to enhance things, so which we are, but if you want to find our company, you have to do that. So
But that's why the URL is so easy, you guys.
yes,
Enhanced.production.
exactly. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning back in, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Trees, we love you guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Weird Wednesday. Tune in the 3rd Wednesday of every month for more strange, unsettling, and spooky.